Hey guys, and welcome to an awesome and epic showdown between two mighty competitors. On the left hand side we have Captain Morgan leading the forces of the Warriors of Chaos up against QSA's very own Aero Krasnik. Probably one of the top 5 players in the game currently, and also the guy who creates all the rules, does some fantastic work throughout the community, so he's certainly going to be a tough opponent. But for the forces of Chaos to try and counter such a legendary foe, he has gone bad to the bones, the most elite chaotic build that ever was. We have triple elite troops in the front line. We have double chosen, one of which has 2 chevrons. These are the shielded variety, no great weapons or halberds there, but they're going to be accompanied alongside them by the regiment of renowned Chaos Warriors, the Mirror Guard. These ferocious beasts should do a pretty decent job up in that front line. In the back pocket here, we do have some Dragon Ogres who are going to be following their Dragon Ogre Shagoff into glorious battle. Very good anti-large, just beast all round. Actually, I don't know if they have anti-large, these ones. Yes, they do. I thought maybe it was only the Regiment Renowned. The big beast himself doesn't, but he does enough damage, it doesn't really matter. In the back here, we have some Chosen with halberds as well to help take down some large and scary threats, cavalry and so forth. Up in the skies, we have a lone Chaos Feral Manticore. Feral Manticores have been a decent and solid pick since basically forever now. They've been super popular, and they're very good. They're good at hunting down squishy targets, which the High Elves do have a lot of. We have double Marauder Horsemen with thrown axes down here on this flank, and in the distance, some Chaos Warhounds. No poison, though, which I'm sure will upset a few people. The poison is almost a must pick on most Chaos Warhounds. Leading these forces today, we do have Prince Sigvald the Magnificent, one of the tankiest lords in the game, and there are quite a few cries out by people that he is maybe slightly overtuned and a little OP, certainly in some matchups. I know Dwarf players have now got many grudges up against him, but he is coming up against the old school OP, so it's kind of the new versus the old. When Teclis first came out on this big bird, people were screaming back then. Let's see how he does fare though, up against a new boy on the block. So Teclis coming in with Bound Fiery Convocation. He of course has his Potion, Regrowth, Enfeebling Foe and Net of Amantok. Of course the Net as well as that Bound Fiery Convocation have some really nice synergy potential between them. And this is a pretty experimental build, it would seem, coming in from Aero. We have double Illyrian Reaver Archers over on this right hand side, but we have a feral, pretty much feral, so eagles can't be feral, but as feral as you can get. A Great Eagle with double Chevron to be rolling as a Doom Squad up in the skies with the mighty Teclis. The front line is going to be a mixture of Silver and Guard, actually just Silver and Guard, and on the flanks we have white lines as well as some spearmen to help support on those sidewards engagements. In the back here we have one Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower as well to apply a little bit of pressure, and some Silver Helms to help escort those archers where possible. Without further ado, let's get this battle underway, and it is going to get underway in a fiery engagement up in the skies. Teclis going toe-to-toe with the Manticore, and yes, the Manticore may be a more popular pick nowadays, but Teclis is an absolute beast on this. So much health, so much healing potential as well, and in swoops the Great Eagle to take down that Chaos Feral Manticore. Not having a good day at all. It's been netted in place and has already broken. The Eagle can now use its swift pace to simply hunt down the Manticore where possible. There are some thrown axes doing a little bit of support onto Teclis, but not really doing too much damage whatsoever, as Prince Sigvald does start to lead the charge. Really lovely shock damage in the front lines. Mirror Guard getting cycled down by the Silver Helms, but in comes the Prince, and in the back line the Dragon Ogre Shagoff does club straight into the Bolt Thrower, going to be shutting it down. This is one of the problems with the more smaller high elf builds. It's really hard to protect your back line, but it looks like he knows this, and he's going to be swooping in with the Eagle and Teclis once more to take on that Dragon Ogre, who really needs to turn and engage and try and get some help. However, the Warriors of Chaos are starting to stream in now from all angles. Chosen are pushing their way into the pocket. Looks like the White Lions are going to kite them back before trying to get a nice surround with the Spearmen. These Chosen certainly looking in a pretty bleak spot, and the Dragon Ogre Shagoff is trying to fall back rather than attack, which is a big mistake because again pinned in by the mass of Teclis and that Great Eagle. And now he's taking a huge amount of damage without dealing any back. In the distance, it looks like the Warhounds were able to sandwich the Illyrian Reavers with the Dragon Ogres for some time, but they have now managed to escape and fall back with those Warhounds being forced off. So far, things going rather well for the forces of the High Elves. That Dragon Ogre getting incredibly low is finally able to escape, but elsewhere, Prince Sigvald having an absolute whale of a time. Surrounded by pointy-eared princesses, he will simply carve them up, battering them away with his shield, exploding heads, and big old clumps of flesh going all over the battlefield. Lovely stuff for Chaos. Not so much for the High Elves, though. Dragon Ogre Shagoff is now fleeing for its life, and somehow this Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower has managed to stabilise and get back online. Can now focus it down. Of course, it can't juke left and right once it is fleeing. Teclis looking very healthy up in the skies, and he's going to be coming in with a Fiery Convocation down the line on a unit of Chosen. And it looks like there's 2 Chosen here as well. This is going to be pretty disgusting stuff, and the Burning Boom goes straight through. Silver Guard do take a pretty big chunk of that damage, but that was certainly worth it for the damage done on the Chosen. White lines as well, saturated on top of Silver and Guard, should be really decent bodyguards here for Teclis. They should be able to mop up a lot of these elite infantry down here. Silver Helms do get a thunderous charge into the Dragon Ogres while supported by Silver and Guard before deciding to fall back through their own ranks. Really good play there by the High Elf player. Although the Dragon Ogre Shagoff as well as the Dragon Ogres are going to continue to push through, and the Great Eagle getting rather ballsy, going toe-to-toe with the Dragon Ogre is not a terrible play, but if he turns and engages, that Great Eagle is going to take an absolute pounding, but it is swooping, trying to dart away where possible. Over here we can see the Chosen have been hit by an enfeebling foe to allow the Silver and Gold and White lines to really cleanse them of their sins. Prince Sigvald, however, has managed to push his way into the back line and cut down the Eclaw Bolt for a crew. He can now float over out to this left-hand side with the Spearmen are going toe-to-toe with the Chosen. You can see their great axes as well as the swords of the Mirror God hewing elven bones and muscle apart. Not a good day for them. Although Spearmen are here to support, so the forces of Chaos are heavily outnumbered at this point. Balance power going relatively healthy in the form of the High Elf's favour. Marauder Horsemen are falling back at this point, continue to throw in their axes on the Eleva and Reaver archers. Probably just want to turn and engage this though. Hop in here, try to save your Dragon Ogres as well as the Dragon Ogre Shagoff. Marauder Horsemen aren't terrible, and especially on the charge, Skirmish Cav on Skirmish Cav. The unit which gets the charge tends to do pretty well. These guys have a lot of health as well, so really just ram your way through here, protect the Dragon Ogres, save as many as you can, because there's still 6 of them, which is decent damage output despite their low health. Chosen for Halberds, unfortunately, haven't really been able to get on top of the key targets, such as Teclis and the Great Eagle. They're fighting Silver and Guard and White lines. They're doing absolutely fine there, but this really wants to be switched around with the Chosen carving their way through the main force. Halberds focusing down Teclis, who's only got a rather humble 8 kills so far, but interesting damage dealt, though. I think he's certainly racked up a lot of that. We'll have to check that out at the end. Chosen Halberds have now been terrified when they finally get the engagement they do want. Chosen busy jogging across the land, hunting down Spearmen, but the High Elves kind of using their mobility to their advantage now. Mirror Guard fighting side by side by their Liege Lord Prince Sigvald are doing rather well. Dragon Ogre Shagoff as well as the Dragon Ogres have rallied, but really beautiful play by the High Elves. Elena Reaver simply going to float over here, force these guys off, and once again apply some pressure to the Marauder Horsemen. And if the Marauder Horsemen are wasting ammunition onto the Reavers, that is absolutely fine for the High Elf player, because Teclis is his main kind of killing power at this point. As long as he stays alive, they should be in relatively good standing. Dragon Ogre Shagoff does float over here, though, start beating down some white lines, going to help support the Mirror Guard, and Sigvald, who is basically untouched at this point, up to 46 kills. And it looks like we do have another fiery convocation coming down. If the Chaos player spots this, he can actually drag back, though, these Spearmen into the Beast. And it looks like that's just what they're going to do. Pulling back, a Net of Amatok does come down a tiny bit too late, as the unit had actually started to move back. So he took pretty decent damage, but not insane work there. If he'd done that the other way around, I think would have been a little bit more optimal, but still good play by Teclis as always. Chosen have once again been routed here. These archers somehow survive in the sheer pressure from the Chaos skirmish in the early game and are really racking up the kills now. Well, 13 kills, but good damage and good utility of them chasing enemies off the field. Looks like the Chaos will be trying to form a bit of a death blob around Sigvald, which is certainly the way to go. Marauder Horsemen getting a lovely rear attack into the white line, slowing them down, allowing the Prince and Dragon Ogre Shagoff to catch up with them, and their morale is slipping away, and it's going to be breaking rather soon. Teclis has popped one of his potions once more just to heal up a little bit more. He makes him so tanky, that glorious potion. It also gives him 44% damage resistance and a lovely little animation as he swoops around picking up these Chosen and feasting upon their souls. But in comes the Dragon Ogre Shagoff. A big old slap to the face of Teclis will do some really nice burst damage. If only he'd been doing this a little bit earlier on in the battle. Silver and Guard are now here to support, and the Dragon Ogre, even with a well-timed stand or die being popped, is probably going to break him off the field. He's wavering, just about holding firm for now, but there he goes. He turns tails and starts to run. Balance power is getting very close to armor losses at this point. We have a few horsemen here with no ammunition left, just being launched into combat in a desperate attempt to try and get some last second value, with a full health Prince Sigvald and some Chosen deciding to fight to the death here. Looks like a big fat enfeebling foe is going to go down on Prince Sigvald, which is a really good play, just to lower his stats all round, as well as his damage and defensive output. And it looks like Teclis will now be forming the classic high elf approach of cycle charging your enemies to death. And it is certainly the way to go. He can certainly do some lovely damage, although a slippery has been popped, increasing that melee defense. Really nicely well-timed play there by the Chaos player. Chosen are advancing back, and they might be able to catch these Silver and Guard unawares and at least do a little bit of damage on their death throws. And they're charging in, axes cleaving and striking down, battering against the shields of the Silver and Guard, who do form a rather staggered shield wall. and they should be able to poke down the remainder of these Chosen. Still, 42 kills isn't absolutely terrible by them, and the Mordor Horsemen need to start doing a little bit more cycling, as it looks like it is going to be Prince Sigvald against the world, which is basically how Sigvald plays. His army crumbles around him, and he just stands down and fights to his death, basically. Silver Helms are fleeing, Illyrian Reavers as well. Looks like they're not going to be coming back anytime soon, and even if they do, they'll probably break before they actually make it back to the main fray. Brilliant play here by the High Elf player, using the extra speed in his build right now because of Teclis. Just hand down the Horsemen, terrify them off, stop any of these units coming back to the fray, and then you can just cycle charge down Sigvald, who's currently surrounded by a load of Great Axe infantry. The White Lions, Teclis going to be floating in, trying to knock him down, or the Prince stands firm, gets in a few good slashes as well. I'm not sure how many more potions that Teclis does have, but it looks like he's still got plenty of magic to boot, with an overcast enfeebling foe. Going to be turning Prince Sigvald into a less magnificent, more just average, and allow the White Lions to really carve him down. But he got a couple of good hits onto Teclis, who does manage to fly back up into the sky once more. And perhaps there's a late Chaos rally here. Mordor Horsemen starting to float back to actually break some Silver and Guard before they are able to engage. They're going to ride straight past him and into the rear of the White Lions, really trying to break up that morale. Although it looks like there's a pretty healthy 64 Silver and Guard just joined the fray. That is pretty rough for the Warriors of Chaos at this moment. Prince Sigvald has got Slippery popped on him once more, and the Enfeebling Foe is still active, but he's getting good little licks in every single time Teclis does approach, and he's still going to be slapping down these Silver Guard despite the debuffs and that smelly aura of Enfeebling Foe, which is coming off him right now. He's doing a pretty decent job. You can see the Horsemen as well coming in once more, constantly trying to cycle, both players trying to use the charge to their bonus. Chosen have been terrified and forced off, but so have some White Lions because of those Marauder Horsemen with Throne Axes. Good skirmish play by both players so far, and Sigvald is going to be regenerating this entire time. Actually, it looks like he's not regenerating for some reason. Did he not bring his armor? The madman! The absolute madman did not bring the armor that gives Prince Sigvald regeneration. Absolute insanity here. I think that is a must pick. I would bring it pretty much every single matchup. But you know what? Prince Sigvald's going pretty strong anyway. 1,300 health. He's not scared of no elf, although it looks like the rest of his army is. Balance power is disgustingly far away from him. And in comes Teclis, taking a little peck out of the eyes of the mighty Prince. Enfeebling Foe popped, and down he goes to a meager 590 health, nearly breaking as well leadership wise there, but the Horsemen are encouraging him, saying, come on lad, you have this in the bag. They're going to be falling back and once again trying to smash home the Silver and Guard, who are down to 56 models at this point. Prince Sigvald once again hit by an enfeebling foe, down to just 500 health. Teclis is though very near his healing cap, 800 himself. He does have the bonus that he can simply cycle charge in. It's going to need a little bit of lucky RNG from the Prince, I think, to try and drag this one out. A well-timed Stand or Die is going to encourage more the Horsemen to continue fighting. They've broken off one unit of the Silver and Guard, and now there is 11 Chosen saturated in here. They're doing a pretty good job of carving their way through these completely surrounded Silver and Guard. This is a really cool 300 style moment, completely surrounded, shields up, spears out, doing a good job, but 300 didn't have to face off against Prince Sigvald, who's carving his way through their defensive formation and starting to stab those elves in the back. Sigvald is starting to waver, however, down to just 250 health, and it looks like Teclis actually broke, taking quite a lot of damage from the Prince. Balance of power completely switches, and Teclis breaks once more, fleeing for his life. There's simply 26 Silver and Guard left fighting, and the Warriors of Chaos do rally to the beautiful sight of Sigvald. It looks like we have Chosen, Mirror Guard, Horsemen all charging back into the fray as Sigvald dispatches some of the last of the Silver and Guard, and somehow, out of nowhere, Prince Sigvald somehow beats back Teclis enough to force him off the field and seals victory for the Warriors of Chaos. Absolute insanity game. That was some wild stuff. Very well played to Captain Morgan. I don't think we've had him up on the channel before, so I think he is making his debut here, as well as Aero Krastic, an absolute OG, and honestly probably top 5, top 3 players in the world right now. So Captain Morgan had a very good display from him. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll break down the damage value and damage dealt in just a second, but if you enjoyed, feel free to drop the video a big old thumbs up. It really helps to push it out to more people. Feel free to comment as well, as I do read through all of them, and you can subscribe to the channel for more Total War Warhammer content. We are very close to the 4,000 subscriber mark, and when we hit that mark, we will be doing a celebration King of the Hill, most likely tomorrow, where the players will get given a random lord and a random force to take into battle, which should certainly be some pretty good fun. If you do want to support the channel in any other way or get involved in my Discord, there are links down below in the description, which now works, surprisingly. They haven't worked for quite some few months because YouTube doesn't like you copy and pasting stuff over, but I have managed to sort the problem. But anyway, well played to these champs. As I said, Aeroclassic played an absolutely phenomenal game. I don't think there's too much more he could have done a bit better. And it is a very experimental build throughout, with coming in with the Great Eagle, who actually did some pretty decent work. Over 3,000 damage dealt, only 6 kills, but 741 damage value. Really helped Teclis in the air game to counter Manticore pressure. So I quite like that pick there. Bolt Thrower, unfortunately, simply got swarmed and overrun by some of the more elite infantry kind of carving their way through the gap, as well as the gigantic Dragon Ogre, although it was a little bit of a bait as it lured in the large creature, allowing Teclis and their Eagle to come in, swoop in, and do some pretty decent work. Elite Reaver Archers, I'm so surprised they survived so long, but throughout the course of the battle, got in with some nice little damage, 600 damage value here, as well as 600 on the other unit, but their main value came from chasing off routing troops. Silver Helms did a pretty decent job as well, frontal cycle charging the enemy to death, 1.3k damage value. Sovereign Guard, not crazy stats across the board, neither did the White Lions. Actually, White Lions did pretty good saturating on top of them. This one did 1.2k damage, the other one 600, but the Sovereign Guard didn't get fantastic damage, but their main job was to hold the line and allow the bigger beasties to really do the work, and my god, Teclis with nearly 20k damage dealt. We've got 19,510, only 46 kills, but he does not care, coming in with a rock hard 4.3k damage value. That is absolutely disgusting. Some really nice fiery convocations throughout, kind of trapped up and deleted a lot of the chosen of Captain Morgan's build. But anyway, for his build, the Mighty Dragon Ogre did really suffer in the early game, kind of getting surrounded, but came back in. Real persistent play from Morgan, getting 1.4k damage value, nearly 4,000 damage dealt. So really nice work on him, despite the early kind of blunder of him being forced in the back line. Dragon Ogres likewise did some pretty good work, 1.3k damage value, nearly 6,000 damage dealt. Manticore obviously suffered, just got absolutely slaughtered in the off, and so did the Chaos Warhounds. They got a nice little pin shot on the Alien Reavers, but then they kind of got forced out, and double Reavers will easily slaughter Chaos Warhounds, particularly on the charge. The Marauder Horsemen with thrown axes, much like the Alien Reavers, did a good job. 1k damage value on this unit, 1k on the next. And how did the Chosen get on? Unfortunately, the Halberds were a little bit lacking, 900 damage value, but still 4,600 damage dealt. Managed to clear a little bit of the chaff out of the way. The Chosen with shields did far better, 1.4k damage value on this unit, 1.2 on the other, as well as the Mirror Guard 1000. A really small, tight, and elite build coming in. Certainly some good fun, but Prince Sigvald, not to be outdone by Teclis, comes in, 127 kills, 12,000 damage dealt. That is wild, and 4k damage value. I believe he got just a tiny bit less than Teclis, but of course he is far cheaper. One thing I would say is his regenerating armor would have certainly helped a huge amount for the Warriors of Chaos Force, and probably allow them to have a little bit more of a nicer victory, rather than kind of it scrapping right down to the death. But still, it makes him even cheaper, making that damage value and damage dealt just that little bit more impressive. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.